I wanted to watch three bad movies. I went out of my way and I found movies I knew I wasn't going to like. And then I watched them and two of them were good and one was fine. Here's their titles. Let's just talk about three surprisingly decent movies. First up is Mystic Pizza. How is a movie with this title good? Well, it is. This is a 1988 movie starring a few women, one of whom is Julia Roberts before she became, Julia Roberts. It's basically about these three women who work at a small town pizzeria and just kind of their lives this one fall and kind of, the relationships they have. And it's good. I'm annoyed at how good it is. I'm annoyed at how much I liked about it. It really stars all three of them. All three of them have really interesting story arcs. One is about a woman who's supposed to get married and she's having all these second thoughts about it and all these doubts and stuff. And it's really frustrating for her because her fiance is just head over the heels for her. And her fiance is played by a very young Vincent D'Onofrio. He is just, oh my God, look at how young he is. It's crazy. He does solid in it, and it's like she's just so torn about everything. It's such a great story. And then Julia Roberts' story, she's always like been the problem child, and she's like trying to get away from that stigma, but also just like living in that stigma. She like can't get away from it, and then she meets a guy who's kind of having a similar-ish problem, but more just like rich people problems, but it's still good and powerful and stuff, and it's a great story. And then Julia Roberts has an older sister in the movie who I guess is the main character, but it's really all three of the girls who are the main character. And she's the golden child, and she's kind of like trying to get away from that as well, but also just like explore who she is as a person. And it's all really good and great, and just you feel good about everything. And then it's such a solid story. I'm annoyed. Why are you so good? And then also it participates in my favorite movie game, which is Surprise Matt Damon cameo. This movie has the first appearance of Matt Damon in any film or TV show. He's 18 years old and just so tiny and ridiculous. He's in 2 scenes, maybe just 1 scene. And I didn't recognize him right away, and I was like, whoa, was that Matt Damon? And then I rewatched the entire scene, and I'm like, that was Matt Damon. And yeah, he's great in it too, in his one little scene. But yeah, if you're in the mood for like a feel-good, very 80s movie, there's so much saxophone in this movie, that's, surprisingly good. Yeah, give this a watch. You're not going to be disappointed. Which is disappointing to me because I wanted to be sad and upset, but no, I gotta be happy and stuff. Thanks, Julia Roberts and Matt Damon. Next up is Timeline. This is a 2002 movie starring a bunch of actors but young. The basic premise is a bunch of archaeologists get sent back in time and they have to come back in time. It's a time travel movie with medieval fun. So this movie is based off a Michael Crichton book, and what I love about this movie, I don't think is actually in the book, and that is that it is a fixed time travel movie, wherein that when you go back to the past, you can't actually change the past. It's also a parallel time travel movie, wherein when your time is moving in the past, time is also moving at the same rate in the present. And then it's also how they do time travel is a very realistic way of time travel. I can't exactly explain the science behind it, but it's a wormhole in that you have a door here on this side, and then there's a door at a point in the past, and that past is always moving with it. It's that parallel time travel thing, but it's just that door always exists. There's this moment here and this moment here, and they're always moving in time together at the same rate. Unless you do some faster than light stuff, then it changes. But that's a real science thing that exists, and it's so cool that they did this. I think in the book though, it's just regular silly time travel stuff. Also, all of the medieval action set piece stuff is super fun and really well done. All the big fight scene at the end with the trebuchets and the fire everywhere, that was just a blast. And I also like that like no one was really the main character. You kind of think Paul Walker is gonna be because he's like there's a son and dad relationship, and then he has like a girlfriend sort of, and you think that's gonna be the center of it, but no, there's like Gerard Butler's stuff is also really important, and then just like everyone kind of has a beat and stuff, and also this movie's just like they are not afraid to kill people like left and right. People are just dying, and it's like you're not sure who's gonna make it to the end. And honestly, looking at who did survive at the end, you're just like, so many people died to get here. Another thing I really liked about this movie is that like so they're archaeologists, and as soon as they go back in time to like where their dig site is, but in real life, they're like they immediately admit how like they got this thing wrong and this thing wrong and this thing wrong. So it's like it points out how like we just don't know for sure how things happen, and that also helped explain like to go with the fixed time travel thing. There's a character at the beginning of the movie they say dies a certain way, but then we find out at the end of the movie they die a different way, and it's because we just don't know that full picture. Even if like people say this is what happened, maybe that's not exactly what happened. Eyewitness testimony isn't always, the most truthful, and that's very true for all of history. And that's just I love that they made a point of that in this movie. It's not a perfect movie. It's definitely kind of a turn your brain off kind of movie a little bit, but it's still just like good fun action, and it's solid. Putting in liked, it's surprisingly good. Annoyingly so. And lastly is I Still Believe. This is a 2020 movie starring some handsome dude and Britt Robertson, my second one of her. This is a Christian rock movie based on a true story set in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I thought it was going to be more so about this dude's rise in his career, but it was actually more so about his relationship with this cute girl he met in college. And I thought this was gonna be like a slam dunk, easy, I'm not gonna like this movie, it's just begging to not be liked. But like, it was fine, and I'm annoyed by that. I really liked the beginning of the movie, when they kind of first started meeting and flirting and getting to know each other. I thought that was really fun. The handsome dude, definitely is very cringy at times and kind of aggressive in his like trying to get Britt Robertson into kind of an a healthy extent, but it wasn't really highlighted too much and definitely wasn't like elevated a lot, so it was kind of like you can kind of just ignore it and it's okay. It's not really an issue. There's the other things in here that are issues, and that's not really it. And I was just like really enjoying myself. I was like, dang it, this is gonna be another liked. This is gonna be like probably near the top of liked maybe, because I'm just enjoying it so much. A scene that I really liked happened in that first part, and it's when the couple go on their first date. They go to like a planetarium thing, and Britt Robertson's kind of explaining the stars to him, about how like the Milky Way has 3 billion stars in it, and the Andromeda galaxy has 1 trillion stars in it, and how it's so crazy that like we paint with paintbrushes, but God paints with galaxies, and how he's like making all this giant, insanely large universe, and then we exist as like these small, minuscule things, and how insignificant we are, but yet he knows my name. That's what she says. She knows my name. God knows my name. And like I love that because it goes along with what I believe, in that the point of it, she's saying, is that God loves you. That's what she's saying, that you are loved, that you are a loved person. And like going off of more of what I believe, it's that you're like, even if you don't believe in God, you are still loved in this world. Even if you don't see those people in your life, even if you don't feel loved, there are people out there that will love you and that do love you. Even if you can't find them, if you don't see them, they exist, they're real, they are out there. Even if you feel so insignificant, if you feel like a grain of sand, you are still loved. I just love the way she put it. It was very eloquent, and it really touched me. It was a great moment in the movie. But then we got to the moment where everything just kind of came to a dead stop for me. And that was, so Britt Robertson gets sick. And that happened. But as soon as she gets sick, the handsome dude proposes to her. They've known each other for like 5 months. They weren't really even together for most of that time. My big issue with him proposing to her right after he finds out that she's sick is because he's not making a big lifelong commitment. He is making a short-term commitment. He knows that she will die soon. She has like stage 3 ovarian cancer, I think. So he knows that she's dying. So like he's not committing himself to this person for the rest of his life. He's committing to this person for a couple of years maybe. Why I get that feeling is because whenever we see him in a concert situation, say for a few at the beginning, he is always talking about her and her dying, her illness. He says that at every single concert. He says that at like every single press thing that he does. He's talking about her story of her dying and her illness and how he needs sympathy from people and everyone. After like the third time he did it, it became clear to me that it just feels like he's using her illness to perpetuate his growing career. He's trying to get sympathy from all these people, and sympathy sells. Like during these COVID times, there's some people I follow online, and they're talking about like, oh, I have this unexpected expense. I need some money. Here, buy this thing for me that really helped me with this expense. And I hope I bought stuff from those people. It's sympathy. Sympathy sells. Sympathy works. This dude used this woman's death as a way to help elevate his career. And like, that's what the movie is all about. The movie is just more about selling this sympathy story to help give this guy more money and elevate him more so. And I like, the reason I come to that conclusion is because, so what I thought the movie was going to be about, Britt Robertson dies, it's sad, whatever. After she dies, the handsome boy talks to his dad about like, Dad, you've had all these bad things happen in your life. Your career went bad, one of your kids has illness, and my wife died. How can you be happy in your life? And his dad's like, you know what? You're right. All those things are bad. This is bad, this is bad, this is bad. But you know what? Life is still good. I'm still happy with life, not in spite of those things, but because of those things. You persevere through them and you still make a good life. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good message. You know, perseverance. Yeah, all about that. But then the movie keeps going and we meet the actual singer who this whole story is based on, and his second wife that he met very soon after his first wife died and married very, very quickly. What makes it even more messed up is she's the one, the second wife is talking about how like her story is so important and we have to spread her story. And it's like, you're this dude's second wife and you're trying to like, and you're just like really praising his first wife. And I'm like, that feels so strange. And then what makes things even more weird and gross is like at the wedding scene between Handsome Dude and Britt Robertson. Britt Robertson specifically stops repeating what the pastor says. Because the pastor said, "Till death do us part," and she's like, "No. Our marriage continues past that. Our marriage exists forever after this moment." And it's like they specifically included that line. So they're saying that Handsome Dude is still married to Britt Robertson. And he's married to this other woman now too. So he's married to two women. Kind of? Yeah? That's weird. It's weird. This is weird. It's really weird. The movie's fine though. If you don't look at it too deeply about that, it can be more enjoyable, and it's more just about the grief stuff probably. Just ignore everything that I talked about. You're probably going to enjoy it more. I put it in the meh category though, because that beginning was good, and I really, really liked that moment with Britt Robertson that I talked about with the stars and stuff. That was great. That was really beautiful. But wow, this movie does frustrate me a bunch. Cool. I didn't realize that till doing this little conversation. Alrighty. Sorry if you noticed a jump cut because my camera died. So, to go for the rankings today, we got Mystic River sitting at number 15 in the quite like section. And then right behind it is Timeline sitting at number 16 in the like section, so they're really close to each other. And then bringing up the rear is I Still Believe at number 20 in the meh category, out of a total of 24 movies. So yeah, I wanted to watch 3 bad movies, ended up watching 3 pretty decent movies. I know I kind of said a lot of negative stuff about I Still Believe, but it's actually fine. It's not the worst thing I've seen. So maybe I need to pull out the big guns and watch the really, really bad movies that I definitely know I'm not gonna like, but I don't know if I really want to torture my soul like that or something. So we'll see how I feel tomorrow. But yeah.